Good day. My name is Caleb Bodley, and my topic is how did COVID-19 impact the Bahamas? My objectives are the impact COVID-19 had on our number one industry, tourism, the impact COVID-19 had on our healthcare sector, the impact COVID-19 has on our unemployment statistics, the impact COVID-19 had on our small businesses, and how COVID-19 taught us to become self-sufficient. First of all, what is COVID-19? COVID, scientific name the coronavirus disease, is a very infectious disease which has impacted the whole world. It is a multiple of viruses, that is, severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, and the Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS. In 2019, there was a new outbreak in Wuhan, China, resulting in a new virus, the COVID-19. As a result of this devastating and far-reaching impact of this virus, it has been classified as a pandemic. The impact COVID-19 had on our number one industry, tourism. According to IDB Improving Lives and the Caribbean Dev Trend Plus, the tourism industry contributes a total of 48.3% to the gross domestic product and 56.2% to employment. We experienced the first COVID-19 cases in March 2020, which resulted in closure of the country and the deterioration of our tourist product. Eventually, our borders were closed to our air and sea arrivals of tourists, which means there were no monies filtering from this source of income into the economy. As a result of our border closures, the hotels and related businesses had no choice but to furlough their employees. The Bahamas government and the National Insurance Board then subsidized the replacement of the income loss for these furloughed employees. Bahamas was unable to host its many festivals and cultural relating activities due to COVID-19. For the first time in many decades, our number one festival, Junkin, was not able to go on. This was our number one fundraiser of the Christmas and New Year seasons. Our borders opened in September 2020, but as North America and Europe were still experiencing extremely high percentages of COVID-19, less persons were traveling. This meant our economy was still moving at a sluggish pace. Tourists coming in were limited to air and boating, yachting arrivals. The cruise ships are in a devastating position as there are no movements in this transportation industry. January 2020 versus January 2021, the tourism air transportation headcount was down by 84%. The impact COVID-19 has on our healthcare system. As the cases of COVID-19 were increasing at a very fast pace since the announcement of the first Bahamian being diagnosed, the Prime Minister and his government grew concerned for the immense strain this would have on our healthcare system as there were limited funds and hospital beds. Due to COVID-19 being classified as a pandemic, there was a fear that the country risked a collapse of the healthcare system. Immediate controls were put in place, that is, government implemented curfews for the whole country, gradually lifting each island based on the COVID-19 cases. We saw the impact of this terrible disease when we lost many of our doctors and nurses, and frontline workers such as police and defense force officers. Before knowing, we crept to over 5,000 cases and almost 200 lives. As our healthcare system was compromised, the Good Samaritans Purse organization built a makeshift hospital with 28 beds to accommodate the overflow in the country. This was a very good gesture as funds were limited and beds were desperately needed. Now that the curve has been flattened, we can now see positive activities gradually returning into the country. The impact COVID-19 has on our unemployment statistics. COVID-19 has interrupted the airline and cruise industries, which impacted our number one industry, tourism. This industry indirectly or directly employs approximately half of our workforce. In March, we were advised of our first cases, resulting in the hotels all closing shortly thereafter. This had a trickle-down effect to all related services, that is, restaurants, taxis, etc. However, due to the government stimulus, workers were furloughed instead of receiving redundancy packages. This resulted in saving numerous jobs and kept the unemployment rate down. Below is a table reflecting the movement between 2019 and 2020. It is expected that there will be a positive movement for 2021 of approximately 1.6%. The impact COVID-19 has on our small businesses. Small businesses were severely impacted by COVID-19 and the closure of the country. It became difficult for small businesses to maintain their business as persons were being furloughed and no monies were being spent, and bills still existed. To sustain this small business existence, the Bahamas government embarked upon disbursing loans from $5,000 to $300,000 once qualified. That is, once owners can present a business license with an expiration date no longer or less than 1 or more years. Funds from this loan must be applied to paying salaries, rents, insurance, utilities, and inventory supplies. As part incentive to join the small business program, business owners had to agree to keep at least 51% of their workers on staff. As stated by the Deputy Prime Minister in a press release article of March 30th, 2020, 616 micro, small, and medium registered for this loan. 382 had completed full application. The above represented 1,082 full-time and 243 part-time. Total amount of this loan at this point was 14 million. Based on the statement made by the Deputy Prime Minister, small businesses were impacted by COVID-19. However, many survived due to the government's small business program. The funding for this program increased our country's deficit as this was not in the budget. How COVID-19 taught us to become self-sufficient. Around the world, COVID-19 became a teachable moment to all. Due to COVID-19 and the threat on the food supplies around the world, most persons in the Bahamas resorted to growing their own foods. While the Bahamas government focused on large-scale farming and the promotion of bouncy food productions, this reduced the import of goods and sustained the growth of the economy within. Bahamas took to backyard farming, resulting in less visits to the food store and more savings. Daily, persons picked fruits and vegetables from the yard to the pot or table. Farming has now become a hobby for most. There are two benefits from becoming self-sufficient. One would be food supply, and two, a form of relaxation. Thank you for listening.